Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you again for inviting me to talk about non-English speaking patients and how medication instructions affect them. So a little quick background, for those of you who don't know what the word polyglot means, it means to speak many languages. And in addition to being an internal medicine physician, I'm a first-generation Korean immigrant, came to the US when I was 7 years old, struggled with it in first, second, third, fourth grade. And I had relatives who don't speak English very well, and they represent probably over 30 million patients or people in the US right now. So if you talk about vulnerable patients and medication errors, the highest risk group is LAP population. And this is a group that we really can't ignore. So when I was practicing the last century, I would give instruction sheets to my patients, and I would say, do you guys understand these instructions? They always nod their head yes, but they get that glass look in their eyes because they really don't understand. And if you're discharging patients, they're under a lot of stress, and they're worried about transportation, they're worried about daycare, and the last thing they're worried about is what you're telling them. So what happens is they go home, and if they can't understand the information that's on the handout that's given to them, they have to kind of figure things out. And I think we can do a lot better job. So I started my company in 2001, and we're a very small health IT company. We're not Epic or Cerner or McKesson. We received a grant award from a Small Business Innovative Research grant from the National Institute for Minority Health and Health Disparities around developing multi-language medication instructions for patients. Our original proposal was to develop 120 meds in 6 different languages. So our focus is on 4 things. The first is, could we develop a simpler medication monograph? And I'll show you an example of ones that are not simple. Individual instructions for use, which is different than the monograph. Regimen summary, which is a visual referenceable daily calendar that is actionable. And 4th, these demonstrations of proper technique. So if you ever try to teach somebody how to use an inhaler or an eye drop over the phone with an interpreter, you guys know what I'm talking about because you really can't. And obviously our target is the limited English proficient and other vulnerable population, which probably represents half the US adult population. So I'm going to review health literacy because I'm going to explain why we focus on certain things that we do. So my perspective on health literacy is basically 3 things. Can they find and gather appropriate health information for what their condition is? Once they've gathered it, can they read and understand that material? And once they read and understand, do they know how to take appropriate action? So those are the 3 key elements. So this being a personal skill and we being a small company, we can't teach people how to be more health literate. So what can we do that's within our control? Well, we can consolidate information. We can focus on key messages. We can remove clutter, reduce noise. We can reduce the reading level requirements. We can give it to them in their own language so that they can actually read and understand. We can also give them verbal information by being video reinforced in their language. We can include pictograms for visual referencing, in particular for dosing, and font sizes, being able to support larger font sizes for elderly. So one criticism I have about the 1-page document is that that limits the ability to create larger font sizes, which may go to the 2nd page. And then the last part is action. So giving them material that recommends specific action, whether it's a calendar or the dosing or whatever, and also encouraging dialogue and giving them permission to ask questions of the pharmacist and the healthcare provider. And lastly is to make this personalized. Because if you look at a lot of these drug monograph, they aren't designed for that person. They have a list of 20 things this medicine could be used for, and then I have to read through it and figure out why am I on this medicine, and it's like the 5th one in the list. So there are things that we can do to address the information challenge and making it simpler by targeting specific portions of health literacy and to make this easier for patients. So this is an example, and this is an older example. I know they are better now. So one of the things that I was asked to do is to talk about challenges for doing this in other languages. And I would say the biggest challenge for doing it in the languages, it's English. And imagine if I translated this material from English to another language. So we're creating material that people aren't reading and translating into a document that nobody's going to read. So what we had to do was start with simplifying the English, okay? And I know there's a lot of FDA, but we had to move pretty quickly. So I have this sense of urgency because, you know, in daily practice, we really need these materials, and I'll show you some examples of what that means. So this is an example of one of our documents. So, you know, the drug monographs include information about the drug, okay? It doesn't include information about how you are supposed to take it. So we include two information. We include information about the specific personal drug instructions, and then down here is information about the particular drug. So our concept here is, you know, if I could overhear a really good pharmacist spend 2 to 3 minutes with a patient, what kind of information would they say? And that's what I wanted to transcribe on a piece of paper and give to the patient. So we're not trying to be a comprehensive drug reference source. We're saying for you to use it safely, to know how to store it, discard it, what information do you need? And being able to target this at a 5th to 8th grade reading level, focusing on key messages, particularly around safe use, universal medication schedule, I mean, that's just critical to this, including pictogram for dosing, ability to support multiple font sizes, and multi-language support. So we generate this on the spot. So this is not pre-generated because your instruction might be take once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, and the dosing might be different. So discharges. So this is not an atypical example of what a discharge instruction might look like in an after-visit summary. So you have stuff like, you know, twice a day on Monday and Tuesdays only, once a day at bedtime, twice a day until stools are loose, every 8 hours for 1 to 2 days. So if you're given this as a patient, you have to figure out what this means. What does this mean? What do I do today? What do I do tomorrow? So why can't we give them a tool to be able to do this automatically for them? So this is an example of one of our visual regimen summaries in the calendar view. So if you can think of this as a stacked UMS, where we have medicines going across, and then in the morning, this is what I take. In the afternoon, or evening, I take this. In the bedtime, I take this. And this is why I'm on it. And here are the medicines I should take as needed. And this is actually a QR code that for one of the medicines, Spiriva, if I had a smartphone with a QR code reader, it will actually teach me how to use Spiriva in Spanish, in this language, okay? So we can develop these instructions in over 20 languages now. We support right-to-left languages. Right-to-left languages are hard, by the way. So, you know, we are constantly trying to add more languages as we go. This is an example of what a video demonstration would look like. We go step by step. Each video demonstration is somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes. And Spiriva, if you have never used Spiriva, it's not a simple device. You get this plastic device in the package, and then there's all these pills and blister packs, or capsules and blister packs. And you're supposed to pop out a capsule, put it into the device, we'll open it, and then put it in, press that little blue button, and then close it, and then inhale the powder. So what's been happening is, patient is in a rush at the pharmacy, they pick up the box with the bag with the box in it, they go home, nobody taught them how to use this, and a lot of state pharmacies, you're only required to teach them the first time they get the medicine. So the second time, nobody's gonna teach them, okay? So they go home, open up the box, see a bunch of capsules, and voila, they swallow the capsules instead of inhaling. Complete waste of money, right? So they're not benefiting from it. So being able to have instructions that they can look at once they go home is important. So there's a science and art to this, okay? The science includes things like universal medication schedule, lower grade reading level, visual layout, font size, you know, reinforcement of education. You know, those are all known things. And then there's the art. The art is, what are the key points? What do you leave out? That's probably the hardest part. It's much easier to leave things in to take stuff out, because different people are going to have different views on what's important and what's not important. Lowest grade reading level is not always the best. If you go down to the second grade reading level, you lose all nuance whatsoever. So don't think just about grade reading level. It's just, is it at a sufficient level to convey the concept and the conditions of that particular sentence? And then visual representations, if you think about food, you think about sandwich or pizza, why not a bowl of rice? So you got to think about, universal representation of concepts visually, which is challenging. So what are some of the challenges? SIG instructions, which are the instructions for use. So we have a lot of customers, and we've analyzed over 7 million SIGs from pharmacy systems and health systems, and most of these are free text SIGs, and we get instructions like take 1 tablet by mouth once daily, take 1 tablet per oral each day, same concept. There's probably over 200 ways just to say this concept. Then the challenge is if I were to translate this into take 1 tablet by mouth once daily, take 1 tablet by mouth twice daily, take 1 tablet 3 times daily, there's 3 different translations, right? So if you look at just a combination of dose and frequency, you have 1 tablet once daily, 1 tablet twice daily, 2 tablet once daily. This is 9 combinations. So you throw in indications, you throw in timing with, you're talking about trillions of potential combinations that we could see. So, am I going to translate trillions? No. So we have a simpler way of handling this. And the other important aspect of health literacy is that almost universally indication is missing unless it's a PRN med. There are some requirements that if it's PRN, that the indication why they're taking it is included, but the link between the condition and the indication is often not there. And I would say if you're talking about clarification and reducing medication error, one of the simplest things we can do is to make the discharge instruction medalist drug name consistent with what's in the pill bottle. That's probably the leading cause of confusion is they see I'm supposed to take this and this is this and they look different. So if we can just do that, that will go a long way, okay? The word pill, okay? So we use the word pill because we get these instructions for capsules, tablets, caplets, soft gels, gel caps. These words do not exist in other languages, okay? But pill does. So and everybody knows pill. The other issue is around ambiguous SIG. So 1 spray by nasal route daily. What does that mean? Is it 1 spray each nostril, which is 2 sprays, or is it 1 spray 1 nostril? So why can't they say 1 spray into each nostril by nasal route daily? So these things are, and we talk to pharmacists, and I say, this is ambiguous, and they say, yeah, it's ambiguous. We can't do anything about it because this is what the doctor sent us. Therefore, we can't clarify that we think it meant each nostril, which is really confusing. The next one is around calculation. So we get a lot of these, take 2.4 milligram by mouth twice daily, and the drug is 0.8 milligram per ml. So every time I look at this, and I look at this, and I gotta say, well, this is 3 ml. What couldn't they just say 3 ml, right? So, that's something, and we get these things like, ones that are based on weight, and we get this, try going home and measuring this. This is impossible to measure, okay? Maybe 0.2 might be a reasonable one. And the other issue, this is an interesting research that I would love for somebody to take on, is around the use of fractions. Is it 1/4 versus 0.25? Is this much better? Or once you go over 1, is it 1.5 better? We've seen dosing of 1/5 a pill. What? How the heck are they supposed to cut 1/5 a pill? And we've gotten, highest dose I saw was 20 pills at one time. And it was a chemotherapy drug that was only available in 1 dose. So think about all the potential combinations that we have to translate into. And use of pictograms. So let's say for the sake of argument, we got rid of teaspoons and tablespoons, okay, which I'm hoping we will. But we still got cups because the cups come with a little liquid bottle on the top. So if you say 5 ml, we still need to represent cups instead of syringes. But let's look at this example of 1.5 ml. So these are all 1.5 ml. So which is the correct representation? Well, it depends what syringe they have. So, we could say, well, 3 ml is probably the most common syringe, and then allow the pharmacist to change it based on what the patient actually has. So these are example of, pictograms are not necessarily as easy as it sounds because there are all these combinations that you may not be aware of. Tapering. So I'm getting into non-daily, non-repetitive schedules. So every day is easy. Tapering instruction is not. So we see example of take 5 pills. So I'll read this for you. So on the pill bottle, it will say, take 5 pills for 2 days, then take 4 pills for 2 days, then take 3 pills for 2 days, and 2 pills for 2 days, and 1 pill for 2 days. That's what it says on the pill bottle. Mm-hmm. Why can't we represent it like this? This is much easier to follow. And we basically say, your dosage for the schedule is shown below. Please cross out each box as you take each dose. And then I could translate this and represent this in any other language. Okay. Some other non-daily repetitive schedule that we do not usually talk about, which includes every other day, which is like 1 pill every other day. Odd even days, like warfarin, where I have 1 pill on one day, alternating with half a pill on the other day. So odd even days. Everyday varying dose, which is insulin, which is morning, I take something different than noon, which is different than evening, which is different than bedtime. Days of the week. Take this on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. How do you represent in English? Which is really hard for patients to... What I find is that most patients actually create a calendar themselves. Okay, and then there's monthly, sliding scale, and dose packs. And then I'm done. She told me I was done. Okay, that's it.